awful April. The Labour Party promised not to tax working people.
More money in the pockets of working people. Higher living standards promised by this Labour government, delivered by this Labour government.
Yet council tax is estimated to rise on average by £90, water by £125, energy by £111, so that's already over £300, all rising on April the 1st. Ironically, April Fool's Day. Who do they think will be paying for those increases if it's not working people? On Wednesday, in her spring statement, the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, claimed that we would all be £500 better off a year.
The OBR say today that people will be, on average, over £500 a year better off under this Labour government.
Really, does that take into account all these rises? Because even basic maths would tell you that if the price of things continue to rise and your salary remains the same, so inflation, and they keep putting prices up in the form of things that you have to pay for, like water and energy, where will this £500 better off come from? I'm just not seeing it. Are you? And then when you factor in the national insurance hike, which, according to the Centre of Economics and Business Research, will wipe out, on average, at least £565 from household budgets, and what with TV licences rising, broadband and road tax going up, we're actually heading towards this government costing households an extra £1,000 a year. Rachel seems to think that she can cream the welfare bill and get people off benefits and into work. It's not a bad idea if you can promise not to remove benefits from the most in need. Those who lose their benefits will then be forced into work. But then there's another problem. Angela Rayner. Who's going to hire them? Angela Rayner's workers' rights bill comes to pass. If that happens, it's basically going to realistically mean that employers won't really want to employ someone who's been off sick for years, knowing that that person will have full workers' rights practically on day one. It's just not going to happen, is it? And now, one of the Labour Party's biggest donors is actually threatening to leave the country. In the meantime, Rachel is enjoying free Sabrina Carpenter tickets that cost hundreds of pounds. Here she is trying to explain why she couldn't pay for them herself.
I took those tickets to go with a member of my family. I thought that was the right thing to do from a security perspective.
Did you pay for them? Because you could pay for them.
Well, these weren't tickets that you could pay for.
Of course you can pay for tickets. Such a terrible look. They just don't get it, do they? I'm with Richard Tice on this one.
I think it doesn't add up. I think the people at the OBR, frankly, have been eating or they've been eating magic mushrooms or something, because this is delusional. It doesn't add up. We are heading towards a financial disaster.
I'm afraid we have an economically illiterate cabinet who haven't ever run a business running our country into the ground whilst reaping the benefits of their position. Happy April Fool's Day. Well, you're with me. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Coming up, we'll be dissecting the Chancellor's spring statement, which, according to a new poll, is almost as unpopular as Liz Truss's mini-budget. That's despite the fact that Rachel Reeves claims that we'll all be £500 better off under this government. In the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, do you care that the rich are leaving the UK? The government's crackdown to end the non-dom tax regime has reportedly resulted in a stream of billionaires departing the country. Steel tycoon Lakshmi Mittal is, among others, thinking of calling it quits in the UK. He's one of Labour's biggest donors. And would you be prepared to part pay for your NHS treatment? Could you afford to pay £120 for a GP visit or £1,300 for A&E care? Well, that could become a reality if Nigel Farage were to become Prime Minister. That is according to Labour. All of that on the way, as ever. Send me your thoughts, post your comments, gbnews.com/yoursay. Right, well, to react to my niggle, I'm now joined by Labour's former aide, Stella Chantikadu.
Very well done.
No,
yes, you did.
Yeah,
yep.
Thank you. All right, Stella, enough of the niceties. Come on, it's a disaster, isn't it? You even wrote
You know
it,
what I
didn't
find?
you?
I did, and we can talk about that, but I find it very interesting that you mentioned the OBR figure,
Yes.
because it's an OBR figure.
Yeah.
You cannot be, it's not Rachel Reeves saying that people will be £500 better off. It's the OBR. The OBR is not being favorable towards the Labour Party. If anything, they're being extremely strict, and I would say they're bullying the government, whichever that government is. Now, you are talking about energy bills, water bills, and all of that.
That's right.
The reason why people are paying such high prices at the moment is because for the last 15 years, during times where interest rates were historically low, and the British government should have been investing in our infrastructure and building houses for the generations who are working right now, they convinced the media and the public to buy into austerity economics, which meant completely cutting capital spending.
Do you know why austerity was brought into play?
Yes,
Well,
it
go
was.
on. Why? Go on.
It was because George Osborne believed.
No. Do you know why?
He wanted to fix the debt.
Why was it? He wanted to
address the debt.
Because of what? What?
The financial crisis. Let's not talk about.
Hold on. Let me finish. You started about austerity. You talked about George Osborne. Why did the Conservative parties need to consider austerity?
No, I'm sorry.
How did they? Because you talked about the previous government. So let's talk about the previous government before that one. Because I'll tell you what, your government, the Labour government, did not leave anything in the tin.
You know what happened 15 years ago?
Yes.
15 years ago, when we had the last Labour government, leave number 10.
Financial crash.
After it was an international financial
well,
crash.
that's what they said.
15 years ago is when wages and living standards in this country started to fall, to the point where today economists have come out and said that the UK can no longer be considered a wealthy country.
Okay.
There are parts of Slovenia and Lithuania which are poorest than some of the poorest parts of the UK.
Yeah, but that's Lithuania and somewhere else. Let's talk about, because you have gone back and you said because of 15 years of Tory government, which is basically what you're saying, and then you pointed to austerity. Austerity was initiated because of the disaster that was left by the Labour government. Let's not forget the full financial crash that happened under their watch. Now, if the finances had gone well, they would have taken credit for it. So somewhere within that, their behaviour helped to lead to this. So the Labour Party left a very...
The Labour Party stabilised the economy.
Letter saying there was nothing
stabilised. That was a joke that every single chancellor has done throughout the history. The Labour Party under Gordon Brown and Tony Blair saw the highest levels of benefits paid for children. And this is something that Labour should be proud of.
They should be proud of that, but they also crashed the economy. Remember the 2009 crash?
Crashed the economy. So for 15 years, it took 15 years for the Conservatives to completely...
Thank you. They crashed the economy. So the Labour Party crashed the economy and left a note, which was apparently a joke but true, that there was no money left. For 15 years, the government have put in a policy of austerity. I'm not saying the Tories did a good job. They did a disaster.
This is how successful George Osborne was.
If you are going to go backwards in time, then so will I. Let's come forward and let's talk about Rachel Reeves and this disastrous spring statement that she's put forward. How about the fact that she's taking money from those who are the sickest? They said those the broadest shoulders would carry the heaviest burdens, but now they are raiding the welfare bill. Now, I don't disagree with taking money from people who shouldn't be taking money, but a lot of those people should be on benefits.
I'm against the welfare. I'm against the welfare cuts. I'm against the welfare cuts. But I have a question. The people who are trashing the Chancellor, who has an extremely difficult job, and within 10 months, people are accusing her of not being able to undo the damage that the Conservatives have done over 15 years. The Chancellor has to undo all of that, right? Yeah, and she's doing things that the people who are accusing the Labour Party are in favour of. Cutting the welfare bill, boosting defence spending, cutting the civil service. These are all things that the right of this country is saying they want to see happen.
Some of those things are, they are Tory playbook policies. But let's talk about the national insurance hike, because she herself, and I have a nice 45-second clip of her saying it's a jobs tax, how it's ridiculous, it's a growth tax. She has said said that herself in the House of Parliament, and now she's done
Nigel
exactly the same thing.
So Nigel
Let's
Farage.
talk about her. We can come back to Rachel.
So Nigel Farage.
Rachel. We can come back to Nigel.
Excellent. So everyone, Rachel's opponent, Nigel Farage and the Conservatives are saying you are not allowed to raise national insurance. At the same time, they're saying you're not allowed to raise any tax. At the same time, they're saying you need to boost defense spending. At the same time, why are you cutting the welfare? Well, something has to give.
Rachel put those financial parameters in herself. The Labour Party said they won't raise national insurance, they won't raise VAT, and they won't raise income tax. They put that there. Nobody's told them to do that. Those were her fiscal rules.
Had she not done that,
why she's now, she has to say raising national insurance, and why she now had to divide national employers and employees' national insurance, when herself, a little while ago, many years ago, said that they were pretty much ended up being the same thing. So why have they done that? Surely you can't be in favour of that.
Something has to give. And had she increased taxes, which would have been my personal preference, and I would have come here and I would have said, yes, go on, increase taxes. Especially increase taxes for those who can solder them, perfectly fine. But had she done that, the reaction from the media would have been insane.
Well, of course,
and one good thing that came out of the budget is that the next day you saw the markets completely again have been pleased. The markets are pleased. The markets are calm.
That's not quite true. The markets haven't crashed and gone into free fall like they did with Liz Truss, but this is a slow car crash rather than a fast one. And even political commentators and economists are saying that actually this is almost as unpopular as Liz Truss's mini, should we call it a fiscal event, just to be polite to her, because it was ridiculous. Poor Liz Truss, I think she had the right idea, but just unfortunately executed with Neolithic incompetence.